All right, what's up, you guys? Molly Van Marth here, and I'm an online health and fitness coach for executives and business owners, and I also work with leadership teams. So if I come across, a business owner who is really invested in their company and wants their A players to perform at their absolute best, then sometimes I work with their leadership team. Today I've got Bill with me, and he was on the leadership team for a company I was working with earlier this year, and he did a really great job. Bill, what was your total weight loss number? How much weight did you?
Yeah, the time I was working with you, Molly, 23 pounds
It's
this
awesome.
year.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I just wanted him to come on here and share, first of all, share a little bit about him and what his life setup is like. A little bit about your history too, because you're an ex-athlete and I love working with ex-athletes. I love that you guys have like the drive built in. So it's really fun to sort of put together a program that helps you transition from, maybe what you did when you were an athlete to be in shape versus, more of your lifestyle now. And how it's a different game plan that you're using, right? So wanted to hear
Yep.
about what your experience was like. And yeah, I guess just tell us, maybe give us a little bit of history, because I know you were already working on losing weight even before we started working together. So maybe talk a little bit about the history and then what it was like when we started.
Yeah. So, like you said, former college athlete, played Division I football for Louisville in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. So I'm like a dinosaur now. But learned a lot of good just workout routines. Not a whole lot around nutrition though, because you're younger and they're just making you go 100 miles an hour, and you can dedicate half your day to football and working out. Did that for a while. Got into the business world. Started working hard at that. Working on my career, trying to move up with companies. And then as you start going that direction, health and fitness kind of takes a backseat over time. Have a couple of young kids, and next thing you know, I was like 40 pounds, away from where I wanted to be, and not very happy. So, and it starts affecting performance, just at work, at home with your kids, just your overall, motivation, and just how you're handling things mentally. So, I kind of started working out on my own again. Like I said, I didn't know a whole lot about nutrition, but I talked to a couple of folks and just kind of started doing my own thing and started losing a little bit of weight, but I wasn't getting I wasn't looking the way I wanted to look. It was just, everything was just getting smaller. I was just losing weight. And then when I started working with you, we kind of focused more on the, like nutrient side of things, the macros, how much protein, carbs, fat, things of that. What it should look like based on what my day looked like. And it just really helped out a lot. And then next thing I know, that plateau had, we had broken through that. And then I started getting stronger, but I continued to lose weight. And I was actually in a cut with you. So,
Cool.
yeah, it did a lot for me. And it was like awkwardly easy, because when I first started working with you, you were like, don't do anything different. I was like, well, I
Right.
want to do something different. That's why I'm working with you. But now I realize the importance of why you did that, and the areas that you need to coach me on.
Definitely. Yeah. As far as like doing a massive overhaul of everything you're eating and, your entire lifestyle, it doesn't work, which is why, just like you said, like we start with where you're at. And I think what people don't realize too, is that sometimes they try a million different adjustments that have a very low impact on their shape overall. So people might be
Hmm.
like buying organic foods or cutting out sugar or cutting out carbs, like doing all these drastic things. And those adjustments might have a very low impact overall and not really create much of a difference. Meanwhile, they're like killing themselves and not even like getting into the shape they want to be in. So with you, we started with where you're at. I could see instantly, once I saw where you were at with your food and stuff, I could see what we needed to adjust. And it was just minor adjustments, right? Nudging things in
Yeah,
the right direction. And that's what created such a shift where you dropped 20 more pounds or over 20 more pounds. So
sure. Yeah, it was definitely minor adjustments, but the struggle that I had was like what my work life and home life meals looked like. Like we tend to eat out a lot for lunch, tend to skip a lot of breakfast. My wife's cooking dinner for her and two children and myself, so it's not always like the healthiest of dinners. So I was like, that's where I was really struggling, is like, okay, so what you're telling, the adjustments that you're making for me, how do I actually make that happen? That was probably where I saw the most value, was getting those ideas and some coaching tips from you. on how to actually get those nutrients that you wanted me to get with the macros and how to apply them with like changing my life.
You were still able to navigate family life, which is, yeah, that's a challenge in
Yeah.
itself for a lot of people. And you were great
Yeah. When you
out
come home and your wife has like a mashed potato casserole, like shepherd's pie or something, it's hard not to eat that.
what do I do with this? Yeah. And
Yeah.
you did so well. Here's the truth, right? Like learning how to do the method that I teach you takes learning some tools, right? Like you have to be willing to learn some things. But what's cool is that when you learn the tools, you actually have the flexibility to include treats like that. It's not about like never having any treats or any food out. It's about learning how to use the tools to know where your boundary lines are so you can fit that stuff in and still be able to live your life and drop weight at the same time.
Yep.
And I wanted to circle back and talk about how like, I think that's a struggle for people too, where sometimes, people will diet really hard and lose weight, but they end up feeling kind of like skinny fat. And that's not the goal, and weaker at the same time too. And I mean, that's not fun for anyone, but additionally, when you're needing to perform for your job and you need to be, you need to be mentally sharp, you need to have energy to make it through the day. That's not okay. That's not a sustainable strategy. And so, yeah, it was good to hear that I just thought that was neat how you were able to like get stronger and feel better, even though you were dropping weight. And that's the difference between, just sort of like blindly doing it on your own and actually having an expert to walk you through like, hey, here is a strategy that will help you drop weight, but also perform better at the same time.
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah. Was there anything that you were maybe surprised to learn or anything you were doing differently before where you ended up doing it a different way when we started working together? Or anything you were like just surprised to learn in general?
Yeah, just like with my macros, like just how far off I was and the importance behind them. Like I always heard macros, I've worked out a lot. You started hearing macros. I don't know, people probably started talking that more like 10 years ago, roughly. Is like when people really, start talking about it and bringing it to like the athletics and things like that. But I never knew. I'm like, what are macro, like carbs, fat, protein? Okay, like, take it easy on the carbs, fats and protein. I had no idea. So learning the importance of that and then just asking you, like when you were coaching me on what to do, like asking why, and then you explaining it, and then you kind of realize the importance of it. And like over time, between like being able to talk with you and then kind of seeing what was happening, like the puzzle was starting to come together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's really challenging for people. Honestly, these days, I think one of the things that makes it tricky for people to get into shape is there is so much information out there. So people might come across macros and be like, okay, I feel like there's something to these things, but if they set them up wrong and they're doing it on their own, then they could experiment with macros and be like, oh, well, that didn't work for me. Like I didn't lose any weight. And they might miss doing it the right way because this stuff isn't rocket science, but there is a science to how our body responds to food and fitness. And so that's my belief is that if I can teach you sort of the cliff notes of how your body works and how you can get in control of it, that gives you the control and that gives you the understanding of how you can do this, in an enjoyable way and still see really good results. So.
Yeah, and what was really good about that is, like you said, there's a ton of information out there, and it's probably most of it's like somewhat accurate, but it's for just the general, it's just information. So what you're able to do is take that information that you were able to have conversations with me on like what I was actually trying to accomplish, and then like customize all that information to actually make it work towards my goals.
Yep. And it was really fun working with you too, because you did know a lot. And so the stuff that I was able to teach you was like higher level stuff. And that's a lot of what it is sort of filling in the gaps with, you were willing to show up. You did really great. You used all the tools, but then it was fun to even go further and like teach you some more advanced stuff. Cause again, that's what I'm here for. There's a difference between like losing weight and not doing it in the most optimal way and like doing it in the right way and optimizing things while you lose weight. So yeah, anyway, you did a great job. Thanks so much for sharing. And yeah, be back on here again soon.
Absolutely.